What if I told you the life of one of the most important figures in American history, Abraham Lincoln, was saved not by soldiers or guards, but by a woman in disguise? Kate Warne, the country's first female detective, did exactly that. And her story begins in the shadowy world of 19th-century espionage. Kate Warne wasn't just any detective, she was a pioneer. Born in 1833 in Erin, New York, little is known about her early life, but we do know she was widowed by her early 20s. In 1856, at the age of 23, she walked into the Pinkerton National Detective Agency in Chicago with an unusual request: to become the first woman hired as a private detective. At a time when women were rarely seen in the workforce, much less in law enforcement, Warne convinced Allan Pinkerton that she could be an asset in ways no man could. She argued that she could go places men couldn't, ask questions that men couldn't ask, and gain trust where men couldn't. Pinkerton took a gamble, and it paid off. Kate Warne would go on to prove her skills in countless cases, but her most famous moment came when she uncovered a deadly conspiracy, one that would have ended the life of President Abraham Lincoln before his presidency even began. When Allan Pinkerton hired Kate Warne, it was a decision that would change the future of his agency. Warne quickly proved her worth, stepping into roles that would have been unimaginable for women at the time. Her first major case involved an embezzling stockbroker, a man whose charm and connections made it difficult to catch through traditional means. But Warne had other ideas. Picture this: Kate Warne, disguised as a genteel Southern woman, with a lace parasol in hand, her gown sweeping across the polished floor as she made her way into a lavish dinner party. Her task was simple: ingratiate herself with the target, gain his trust, and uncover his secrets. With a honeyed Southern drawl, she quickly befriended the stockbroker's wife, gaining an invitation to their home. She blended so seamlessly into their circle that soon, she was alone with the stockbroker, listening as he boasted about his wealth and influence. But behind her calm demeanor, Warne was meticulously gathering details. She took note of every word, every careless confession, and within days, Pinkerton had all the evidence he needed to expose the stockbroker's crimes. This case set the tone for Warne's career. Her ability to transform herself into anyone, to step into high society or the seedy underbelly of the city without raising suspicion, made her invaluable to Pinkerton. But her talent went beyond individual cases. As her reputation grew, so did her responsibilities. Pinkerton, recognizing Warne's unique skills, made her the head of the agency's newly established women's division. It was a radical idea, a separate division made up entirely of female detectives, all trained by Warne herself. These women were tasked with sensitive undercover work, gathering intelligence in places where male operatives couldn't tread. Warne's leadership was marked by a strict attention to detail and an unflinching approach to training. Her agents learned the art of disguise, how to become invisible in plain sight. Warne would personally oversee their training, teaching them how to tail suspects without being noticed, how to extract information subtly, and how to think on their feet when plans went wrong. Warne understood that women in espionage had advantages, society often underestimated them, which allowed them to get closer to their targets without suspicion. Under her leadership, the women's division became a vital part of Pinkerton's operations, solving cases that were considered impossible by traditional means. But even with all her success, nothing could prepare Kate Warne for the most dangerous mission of her career: stopping a deadly plot against the President-elect of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. By 1861, tensions were rising across the United States as the nation edged closer to civil war. Abraham Lincoln had just been elected president, a victory that infuriated many in the southern states. Secession was on the horizon, and whispers of violence filled the air. It was in this charged atmosphere that Kate Warne would take on her most critical assignment. Pinkerton received intelligence that a group of Southern conspirators planned to assassinate Lincoln during his journey to Washington, D.C., for his inauguration. The plan was simple, yet deadly. When Lincoln's train passed through Baltimore, the assassins would ambush and kill him, throwing the country into chaos before he could even take office. But they hadn't counted on Kate Warne. Pinkerton, knowing the gravity of the situation, called on Warne to go undercover once again, this time, to infiltrate the secessionist circles in Baltimore where the plot was brewing. Disguised as a charming Southern woman, Warne once again put her skills of deception and quick thinking to the test. She blended into the streets of Baltimore, where Confederate sympathizers openly expressed their hatred for Lincoln. With her eyes and ears wide open, she moved through taverns and homes, striking up conversations with men who had no idea that they were confiding in a Pinkerton agent. Warne's disarming presence allowed her to gather crucial details about the assassination plot, the timing, the location, the people involved. One key figure in the conspiracy was Cipriano Ferrandini, a barber by trade, but a fierce Southern loyalist by conviction. Ferrandini had rallied a group of secessionists to carry out the attack during Lincoln's transfer between trains in Baltimore. They planned to use the confusion of the crowded station to kill Lincoln and escape into the chaos. In a smoke-filled tavern, Warne sat quietly among Ferrandini's men, listening intently as they laid out their plan. Every word was a piece of the puzzle. The attack would take place during the crowded transfer, with Ferrandini's group blending into the mass of people before striking. Warne knew exactly where the attack would occur and when. Armed with this knowledge, she passed the information back to Pinkerton, setting in motion a counterplan to save the president-elect. Together, Warne and Pinkerton devised a plan for Lincoln to pass through Baltimore in the dead of night, disguised and unnoticed. With hours left before the assassin's plan could unfold, Warne guided Lincoln through the shadows, ensuring that every step of the operation was flawless. It was the night of February 22, 1861, just days before Abraham Lincoln was to be sworn in as the 16th President of the United States. The city of Baltimore slept, unaware that their president-elect was in grave danger, and that, thanks to Kate Warne, the danger had been averted. Inside the Calvert Street station, a group of conspirators led by Cipriano Ferrandini waited, hidden among the crowds. Their plan was ready. They would strike as Lincoln stepped off his train during the transfer, blending into the chaos of the busy station. But Lincoln wasn't on the train they expected. Instead, hours earlier, a different train rolled through the darkened countryside toward Washington, D.C. inside one of the unmarked carriages. Lincoln sat quietly, his normally tall frame disguised in a simple overcoat and soft felt hat, instead of his famous stovepipe hat. Next to him was Kate Warne, cool and composed, her sharp eyes scanning the shadows for any sign of danger. She had been with him every step of the way, from the moment they left Philadelphia, ensuring that Lincoln's passage through Baltimore would go undetected. The plan they had devised was a masterpiece of deception. By traveling in secrecy, avoiding the crowded station at peak hours, and disguising Lincoln's appearance, they had outwitted the conspirators. As the train glided silently through the night, Warne couldn't help but think of the conspirators, waiting in the station, completely unaware that their target had already slipped through their fingers. Finally, as dawn approached, the train pulled into Washington, D.C., its passengers none the wiser that one of the most important men in the country had been traveling among them in secret. Warne breathed a sigh of relief as they safely arrived at their destination. She had done it. Through her quick thinking, her courage, and her unmatched skills in espionage, Kate Warne had saved the life of Abraham Lincoln. With Lincoln safely in Washington, D.C., and the threat in Baltimore neutralized, the country moved forward into a new chapter of its history. But while the public focused on the upcoming inauguration, few knew about the quiet hero who had ensured that day would come. Kate Warne, the woman who had outwitted assassins and risked her life to protect the president-elect, remained in the shadows, just as she had during her entire career. The foiled assassination plot was a success not just for Abraham Lincoln, but for Allan Pinkerton's agency, which was quickly earning a reputation as one of the most effective detective outfits in the nation. And at the center of it all was Kate Warne. Pinkerton, ever loyal to his star detective, praised her in his memoirs, calling her one of the best detectives in the field. Warne's actions didn't just change the fate of the country, they also changed the perception of what women could achieve in a world dominated by men. Over the next several years, she continued to serve the Pinkerton Agency, leading covert missions, overseeing the Women's Division, and training a new generation of female detectives. Warne's leadership was transformative. She knew firsthand that women had an edge in espionage. They could move unnoticed through spaces that men could not, gather information in places where men might raise suspicion, and use society's expectations of them to their advantage. Though her name would not be widely remembered, Warne's legacy endured. In 1868, Kate Warne's life was cut short by illness. She passed away at just 35 years old, but her impact on the Pinkerton Agency and the broader world of investigative work was undeniable. Allan Pinkerton, heartbroken by the loss of his most trusted agent, buried her in his family plot at Graceland Cemetery in Chicago, a testament to the respect and admiration he had for her. Kate Warne was a woman ahead of her time. In an era when women were expected to stay in the background, she stepped boldly into a world of danger and intrigue, proving that she could outsmart even the most dangerous men. Her work with the Pinkerton Agency wasn't just about catching criminals, it was about breaking barriers and changing the way the world saw women in law enforcement. From her early days of undercover work to saving Abraham Lincoln's life, Kate Warne's story is one of courage, intelligence, and determination. She worked in the shadows, but her influence was felt in every corner of the Pinkerton Agency and beyond. Today, we remember her not only as the first female detective but as a pioneer who showed that women could be powerful, decisive, and indispensable in the world of espionage. Though history may not have given her the recognition she deserves, we can tell her story now, honoring the remarkable legacy she left behind. Kate Warne was proof that sometimes, the most important figures in history are those who work quietly, behind the scenes, shaping events without ever stepping into the spotlight. Thank you for listening to History Crossroads. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more untold stories of history's hidden heroes, make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to dive deeper into the stories we cover, check out our social media for additional content, behind-the-scenes details, and more fascinating history you won't find in textbooks. Be sure to join us next time, where we'll uncover yet another incredible story from history's forgotten past. You won't want to miss it.